That's right. We're live and welcome to Bitcoin Movie Night. I'm your host, Thomas Hunt. Today is Tuesday, February 16th, and we're going to be checking out the movie The Silk Road. Thought we'd start by showing you the trailer here and discussing a little bit about the basics of the movie. We don't have that much time today. We don't have a co-host. We're going to make do and talk a little bit about the Silk Road. Here it is, the trailer for the Silk Road 2021, available soon. You can pre-order it right here on YouTube. Let's go full screen.
Why do you keep closing your laptop every time I walk by? You look stressed.
Work's been crazy. I've always wanted to change the world.
How?
Amazon for drugs.
But you can't buy drugs on the internet.
What if you could? Using Bitcoin, I just made 75 grand in the last 90 minutes, babe.
That's 1.2 million a day.
This guy's the first millennial gangster. You gonna crack this the old-fashioned way, Agent Bodie? Everything they know, they learned off a screen. Not staring down the barrel of a gun. Experience matters. Oh. When you snatch him up, send me a fax.
The dark net.
Something special came in the mail.
The game is changing.
It's gonna be every suburb in America.
This website needs to be shut down immediately.
I'm the one that's gonna bring this brick down.
You cross this line, there ain't no going back.
I'm obsessive.
We get him on conspiracy to commit murder. Checkmate. Come on, hold your breath. To do with my money. This thing is gonna outlive all of us.
There it is, the Silk Road. The Silk Road tells the story, as the trailer so dramatically showed, of Ross Ulbricht on one side, the dread pirate Roberts, creator of the Silk Road, and on the other side, the police officer or DEA agent trying to get him. The DEA agent in the film is called, I think, Jim Bowden, but we all know that's a stand-in for Karl Mark Force IV, allegedly. The movie also shows the story there of Ross's girlfriend, Julia, Ross's good friend who seems to be there as a useful character. The movie explains Bitcoin several times, does a pretty good job of it, talks of Bitcoin as tokens, the main thing here being the general anonymity. If you bought your Bitcoin in an anonymous way and you send them to the Silk Road to buy something, then you are generally anonymous. I guess you'd also have to use Tor the whole time, hide your IP, that kind of thing. As you can see here, the movie focuses a lot on Agent Bowden's old schoolness. He wants to have boots on the ground. He wants to do human sources. He carries around a folder, the old school. He has paper evidence. He prints things out. He doesn't know how to use a computer. So it is a big contrast between the agent and Ross. But that's the basic story. It's pretty accurate, I think, at least according to the Silk Road legend of times. It's based on a Rolling Stone article, and it's different. There's a couple other ones. There's a Wired article that might be made into a movie. There's a book that I'm also reading right now that's about the Silk Road called American Kingpin, and that might be made into a movie or a miniseries. As you can see here, the tagline: "A mastermind is a terrible thing to waste." So interesting side notes on the casting. The FBI agent or whoever he is at the top who's tracking down Ross and everything, he's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's one of the McPoyle brothers. So that's pretty interesting to see him there. Also interesting to see Stingray from Cobra Kai is, I believe in the reality, the guy might have been named Spaz. In the movie, they call him Chronic Pain. But he was, of course, the admin on the site, turned into the informant, turned into the murder victim. So that's the basic story of the Silk Road movie. We're going to move into spoilers now. I don't have a graphic or anything, but spoilers ahead. So if you're going to, talk about the movie, we're going to talk about the movie. One thing I would say, looking at this movie and especially looking at it from a Ross Ulbricht type perspective, it's split not even 50-50, but I'd say even 60-40, maybe 70-30 towards the DEA agent who's trying to track him down. The DEA agent is non-technical. He's the one that the audience learns from when the audience learns things like how the Silk Road works, how Bitcoin works. They always have the DEA agent have it explained to him by his strange friend who's into sneakers. I guess this guy's real because of the way they depict him. If they just made it up, it would be insane. But there's an informant for the DEA agent who's a black guy with like an afro, and he's into sneakers. And it's just, he just seems like a stereotypical character, but apparently he's real and he's there and he serves a purpose. Of course, he knows how to use the Silk Road. He knows how to order drugs and all that kind of thing. And, so he's the one that helps the FBI agent or the DEA agent understand everything. And that, so he's got his agent friend, and they're the ones that the audience goes through to understand the movies. No, he's into sneakers as of shoes. Like he buys fancy Air Jordans and things like that. He's got a whole rack of them behind him. He's selling them online. And that's why he's just an informant guy. I don't know, he's kind of a generic Beverly Hills cop type informant character. But he's big in the movie. The DEA agent is big in the movie. His wife, his kid, his motivations. And let's get right down to it. I think the movie kind of gives him a pass. The movie tries to I don't know. Well, it's tough to say. Either the movie doesn't have no heroes. There's not really a hero in the movie. Ross is this kind of cookie cutter version of Ross. He needs to learn how to code. He learns how to code. He needs to make an amazing drug website. He makes an amazing drug website. The DEA agent is the one who really has some character development and makes some choices and is he's not a hero though. But the movie does it's just amazing how the FBI kind of shrugs their shoulders and lets this guy torture the witness, right? There's a point where he goes over the line, like he's investigating Ross. He's apparently doing this all on his own. He's a rogue agent. He's contacted Ross directly. He's tricked Ross into believing him and making him like an admin, and he's a trusted person to Ross because he represents himself as having contacts and things, which again, Ross is portrayed as very lonely and very sucker. Ross goes for anything, goes with anything. But yes, this DEA agent and the kid, so he decides to further entrap Ross. Once he captures this admin, Stingray, he's going to torture him, and he's going to show Ross that he's tortured. And then he says, torture's not enough. You got to murder him. And then he shows Ross that he murdered him, and he puts chicken soup in his mouth and makes him puke. Now, they didn't show it, but in the descriptions, there's a lot more torturing of this guy. There's a lot more like marks on his neck and things like that. The photo session they do is kind of Hollywood, but it's kind of shrugged off. It's like, oh, the DE agent good guy just totally tortured and entrapped someone to further his case. Right? It's a very strange deal that happens there. Then towards the end of the film, again, spoilers ahead. Everyone kind of knows this is like the Titanic. We know how it's going to end, right? But towards the end of the film, when they're about to bust Ross, there is another scene where the DEA agent with his friend, the sneaker guy, entrap Ross a few more times and steal money from him. They get Ross to send him like $300,000 for a hit because suddenly someone knows Ross's IP address. So that guy's got to be killed. And Ross is just throwing out hits at this point. He just doesn't seem to care anymore. And he's gone way over the line from the libertarian at the beginning of the movie who wouldn't do murder for hire, which of course they drop in there. Foreshadowing. There's a lot of foreshadowing, I would never torture someone. And then later on in the film, you're torturing someone. So it's a little heavy handed at parts. It's a little long, hour and 56 minutes. And a lot of it is about this DEA agent. So in the film, anyway, he gets the money. He has the guy turn the Bitcoin into cash. The cash shows up on his wife's porch. And it seems like the DEA agent steals from Ross, gets away with it, gets the money to his family, goes to jail for only 6 years. And Ross is locked in jail for life. So I would say, while I'm sure hardcore Free Ross people don't like the way that it doesn't talk about multiple Dread Pirate Roberts theory and that it includes the hits at all, but it comes out as a pretty positive Ross movie. I don't know. It's a little back and forth. There are some scenes there where a kid, gets the super powerful LSD on the Silk Road and jumps off a building, and Ross feels bad about that, but also it kind of can't do anything. And it's very sad at the end seeing Ross in prison. There's a line, he's begging for his old age. Please don't take this from me. And it's not so far as to have a card at the end that says you should pardon Ross and how you can learn about the Pardon Ross movement or anything like that. It's not that far, but it's pretty close. Like, it does talk about how he's going to be in jail forever. One thing that's interesting here again is I want to talk about how Ross Ulbricht has really become an archetype, a legend, right? So what we do is we see the familiar beats of Ross Ulbricht, which mainly include this girlfriend, Julia, who of course is, from a different race and all that. She's African and Ross is a white guy and all that stuff. So they cover that in the movie, and all the Ross stories cover that. And he has a nice family, but Ross is seen as kind of a loser. So he's a loser. He can't succeed. He has all of these failed businesses and things, but he's supposed to be really smart and a genius. He has these strong libertarian beliefs. He says that, have you heard about Mises? And there's a great line where Julia says, "Oh my gosh, did I just fuck a libertarian?" And Ross is super embarrassed about that, but it seems to go okay for him. It does really show a lot about Ross closing the laptop. And I guess this was a big deal about the OPSEC, that if he closed the laptop, it would have encrypted the contents. It would have been impossible for the police to get the kind of information that they did off of him. Also, it seems like there's a lot of security failures there that just need to be looked at generally. For example, if Ross had everything there, like once he'd logged in, you get access to everything because they got his journal, they got all kinds of other stuff. If he could have had layers, if he could have had a timer, but even a timer, like she was racing away with the laptop in the very dramatic scene that they show twice with him being busted twice. So I think it's a pretty good movie. It's a little melodramatic. They do most of it through talking, while I think a lot of this happened through typing. There is one scene where they do try some typing, and you have to read it off the screen, and I can see why they don't want to. It doesn't quite play that well. It's still kind of boring to watch people type, but it's pretty good. And they go through all the character beats of Ross. A lot of this guy, the DEA agent, tracking people down, explaining things. Is it a good movie for Bitcoin? Well, it doesn't quite focus that much on how low the price was. So it's not like a constant FOMO price movie, which is good and bad. There could be a little bit of that thrown in there about how everyone would have been just crazy rich if they'd held their Bitcoin. It does have, let's see. So they show Ross's views. There's just very little Ross in there, and Ross does not really grow or change. In a way, he does. Does Ross grow or change as a character? At the very end, Ross is saying things like, he says that you can give people freedom, but you can't control what they'll do with it. And in that line, there does seem to be some growth where Ross has realized that he built this incredible free market and gave everyone the ability to have whatever drug they want, or to move large amounts of cannabis for large amounts of money without, violence. But there was also all these people that did too much, all these people that shouldn't have done it, that got access to things they shouldn't have had, all these kind of levels there where Ross has realized that just because he can handle a certain level of freedom with his kind of safety net, and he has, very much a, white privilege safety net kind of thing, and that other people couldn't handle it. So Ross does kind of change in there. At the beginning, he's just, open it up, give it to everybody type thing. Another thing there is that does Karl Marx force change? In the beginning, he doesn't like technology. He forces himself to learn some technology, uses it to hack Ross, to get into his head. It's kind of old school sources there. By the end of the movie, he seems to like Bitcoin and technology enough to steal from Ross and to entrap him. It is interesting how he's not the hero of the movie, and there really is no hero in the movie. Maybe Bitcoin is the hero of the movie. Let's see. It's funny the way they make it very personal between Ross and Mark Force. I don't know if it really happened, but they enact a phone call at the end where Mark Force calls Ross and kind of taunts him. I think he wanted Ross to delete his logs, the archives, to cover up his crime of being involved in this, and Ross wouldn't do it because Ross valued the history, I think, and he just wouldn't delete anything. And then Mark Force finds that he has to attack and destroy him. So that was interesting. Good for Bitcoin. It brings up the whole Silk Road thing again. It's definitely, this is how Bitcoin's going to be remembered and how it was introduced. Everyone's going to have their story. Oh, yes, I heard about Silk Road. As you can see here, here's the police officer, the DA agent, consulting with the sneaker guy. He's got the sneakers behind him. And then there's Ross being arrested in the library. Ross's OPSEC is pretty weak. I mean, he goes to a public place, the library. They're able to get his laptop away from him. He wanted to use the open free Wi-Fi, but he was also ended up in a public place. He seems pretty lonely. It's interesting. What's interesting is Ross's success conditions, and that there were several points where Ross could have just quit and walked away. And it's possible he wouldn't have been caught. It's possible they would have moved on, or he could have been somewhere else. He could have taken millions of dollars out of the website and not kept it running. There was something, I think they show it through the other failures of his other sites and things, that this was a success and he didn't want to leave it. He had accidentally started a successful .com, and it wasn't a legal .com. In another country, he could have had more support. He could have had more options, an international view. He seems stuck on San Francisco. At one point, he is in Australia. It seems like a vacation with his parents. It's not really explained. At another point, his parents had a place in Costa Rica, which is part of the U.S., but not quite part of the U.S. So it is really interesting. He didn't have any exit plan. He could have shut it down. He could have walked away. It got in more trouble. It got in more trouble. It got to the guy pressuring with the hits. At any point, they show him a couple of times considering like deleting the site, like he had a delete option. But what was the point? Like, he ran a perfect libertarian market. Was he trying to run it forever? That seems to be the thing, that he wanted it to run forever. And it's not a perpetual motion machine, right? It's not a perfectly balanced Rube Goldberg machine. he didn't invent that, did he? Amazon runs with a great deal of human interaction, right? The people getting the packages, all the customer service, all that kind of thing. Amazon just doesn't kick off like a deist theory of the gods, like a spinning top. The world just kicks off. So I don't know what Ross's long-term plan was. It doesn't seem like he wanted to run it as an operation or move to Bulgaria or anything like that. He didn't seem to have a good plan. He both trusted Tor and didn't trust Tor. If he really trusted Tor, he could have just stayed home, right? Doesn't have to go to the library, doesn't get busted in plain sight, closes the laptop, has a better defense. The other thing, the cop could have told him to close the laptop, but the cop was already on this like destructive thing. It was really interesting to see, again, spoilers, the cop's motivation and the way it changed, and the way that the cop became kind of this revenge torpedo, where he's like, I'm going to destroy my career, I'm going to steal some money, I'm going to wreck Ross's life. And then the cop did that, and then it seems like the cop in the movie version certainly gets the money, gets only 6 years in prison, probably less. It's probably pretty bad being a cop in prison, but that kind of thing. So really interesting, the end conditions of what happened at the end. They didn't show Ross making mushrooms, so that was kind of interesting. He didn't seed the Silk Road website. A lot of the stuff seems really easy in retrospect. Like he just sets up a website and it's a success, and he needs promotion, so he calls up Gawker. It's just right there. A lot of like super easy inconveniences. But yes, as Gur is saying, they didn't compartmentalize anything. The feds got everything on Ross's laptop because he was logged in and because he didn't have multiple levels of things. There's also that kind of reverse, or we don't know, story where the cops say they had like early messages that Ross put on some board, like how to design a secret website, something like that. Like really obvious posts about what he was going to do. So that certainly, that naivete is shown there as well. And it makes it very hard for them to really put this kingpin thing on him. They try here, they put the words on the screen and they do that stuff. And, oh, you're making $12 million a day. Ross had no boats. Ross didn't even have a van. Like Ross had no Rolls Royce, no fancy limos, no mansions, and maybe has a bunch of Bitcoin hidden away with a secret code or whatever. But there's no real kingpin activity. There's no lots and lots of women. Ross is shown as sad and alone. His girlfriend Julia breaks up with him because he's obsessed with the website. He's doing customer support. He's recruiting these admins to do customer support. Like the only exciting thing he really does is the hit, the okaying of the hit and getting drunk at a party. So why is this guy in jail for all of life? Why is he the greatest kingpin? It seems like a website. It seems like a Jeff Bezos website. Seems like instead of selling books, he sold drugs, and now he's in jail for life. So in that way, maybe it gets people to think about Ross and his story. Certainly, it's just a dramatic movie. I don't think it's not like a pro Ross movie. It's kind of pro Ross at the end, but it's the first Silk Road movie. There will be others. Any questions about the movie in the comments? You can certainly get the movie soon. You can pre-order it now on YouTube. We're watching the trailer for the Silk Road movie. Has Stingray from Cobra Kai. Performances. I thought the Ross guy was good. I thought he didn't quite look as swashbuckling pirate as Ross. He's a little more normal looking. Ross has a very distinctive look. I thought the FBI guy did a good job, or the DA guy, even though I didn't really like his character and would have cut him out of the movie. I thought he did a good job. Julia was fine. But again, I'm starting to see these more as archetypes. Like once you've seen Ross played by Ross is our Hamlet. He's going to be played by every major actor. Everyone's going to give a try at Julia. Everyone's got these different, players that'll come in and play this role again and again and again, saying the same things. It doesn't crack the character of Ross. We never really understand or get, like, it seems like he did this to prove a point. He did this to prove the libertarian point that you could make a perfect website. It wasn't about the money. Maybe it was about his name or himself living on in some way, which was a failed. I mean, it worked, but it worked too good. He went to jail, and he's very one-dimensional. And there's no, because I don't think that the normal people can really understand Ross. They can't understand that it wasn't really about the money, from what we can see. And they're also his failure to walk away. Why didn't he walk away? Why didn't he have some kind of, oh, it got to this level. Oh, it got to this level. Because it's very clear, like, and again, this is all hindsight. It's very easy to say this, but okay, you successfully ran a Tor Bitcoin drug market for a year, right? Everyone knows about it. Everyone can now make their own. The idea is out there. You could even run one of these websites for a month, right? If you ran it for a month, everyone would know about it. Or if you ran it for 1,000 transactions, some kind of goal. Ross seems like he wants to run this website forever. He wants to do tech support on this website forever. There's no exit strategy. And I think that just shows kind of, again, like I don't think they should have him in jail for life for that. He's not a kingpin. He wasn't a drug lord. He didn't even use this website to start buying more drugs or selling more drugs. I mean, he didn't. He just wasn't, he's not what they're portraying. But it was interesting to see the two sides and to see all the interesting little facts that they pulled out of the article and put into the movie. So I would definitely suggest that you check out the movie. This Silk Road, I keep calling it but it's just Silk Road, comes out in just a couple days. It's not too many new movies in 2021. So I would give it a thumbs up. Free raw stuff aside, it's a good yarn about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and how you can make a whole website on your laptop and really piss off the FBI. So check out Silk Road, the new movie from some studio. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.